Hi, I'm Holly, and with my sister Heather, you're listening to Haunted Family Podcast, a weekly podcast about the paranormal, unsolved mysteries, and even some true crime.
And in this episode, we feature birds.
And true crime. And unsolved mysteries.
Yes. I've moved my recording setup into the kitchen, so I have my birds covered, but you might occasionally hear a little Tweety bird behind me.
We need to train them to do our intro.
We need to train them to scream out murder, murder, or something like that.
That would be funny.
I'll work on that. If I'm able to get anyone to do that, it'll be like Callie or Harrison. The parakeets they're cute, but they're pretty much worthless as far as actually talking to you. I mean, they'll chatter up a storm, but they don't say words.
I feel like we have not recorded in 400 years.
It feels like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, every time we skip any amount of time, it's so hard to get back into the groove. But Heather abandoned us, so
I sat down last night and recorded a brief intro for my new YouTube video that went live today at noon. Well, okay, today is in the day we're recording this at noon. If you've not watched it yet, you should. It's called Middle Creek Ghosts, and it is scenes from my campout at a haunted Civil War battlefield.
Cool.
And there might be an EVP on it.
Interesting.
Yes.
So I am 90% sure that we're going to end up taking another week break sometime in the near future because I need to drop this laptop off to be fixed. I am delicately balancing so that it doesn't turn off on me.
Yeah. You desperately need a new laptop.
I do.
You need to take a portion of all your t-shirt sales and invest it in a laptop.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm taking this one to get it fixed. Because I know what's wrong with it. And I just need to get it fixed. But that means it's going to be away from me for a little while.
Yeah.
So this week we go back so far in history. Serial killers weren't a thing.
But they were.
Yes.
Because we've actually covered serial killers from this time period before.
Yeah. We have also kind of mentioned both of these cases because this week is a 2-in-1 because the crimes are so similar.
Yeah, there's actually speculation that one of them might have been perpetrated by the killer we mentioned in a early episode. Was it this year or was it last year that we covered the Axeman?
Oh gosh, I don't know. We've been doing this so long. Our crimes kind of run together.
I know. Okay, but I think here I am. It's a dark, rainy night.
Okay.
And I'm sitting here recording this podcast about people murdered on a farm while sitting on a farm.
Ooh.
Hope I don't get murdered tonight.
Well, I hope not either because I'd have to find another.
Emmy would record with you.
Probably not.
I mean, she'd want to do every episode on conspiracy theories.
That is true.
That is Emmy's thing.
This would turn into a conspiracy theory podcast.
Emmy is all about the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, actually, today I forgot exactly what she said, but I was saying that we were recording tonight, and so I have put a light on my door that I hit and it lights up. It's one of those touch lights, but I wrote recording and put it on the door so that when I'm recording everybody in the house knows I'm recording, and they can kind of be quiet and not burst through
Everyone
the door.
in the house. So, Emmy?
Well, Abby's here today.
Oh.
So, I've got that going. And then I was saying, telling her that we were recording tonight, and she said, I think it's a conspiracy theory. I think that you just do that so that you can get away from me, and there's actually no podcast.
She's been on our podcast.
Yeah, I think she thinks we quit or something. So
No, I'm surprised we've stuck with this long. I think everyone around us is surprised that we've stuck with it this long.
I think so too.
I think people are kind of amazed that we're now starting to branch out into YouTube and being very active on our Instagram and
yeah.
Y'all, let me tell you how active we are on our Instagram. I'm starting to pay attention to our analytics.
What?
Yeah. I know, kind of crazy. But I get a thrill when our post gets lots of impressions and profile visits, and it makes me happy, and I do a happy dance.
Which is not pretty. It looks a lot like Carlson from Carlton. Yes, from Fresh Prince. But yeah. I don't know. I am bad with names of characters today. I was calling Barney from How I Met Your Mother. I was calling him Barry today.
Holly calls it my crazy white girl dance because it is also how I dance to risque songs.
Yeah, crazy.
If you've not heard any risque songs, you should probably look it up, or maybe not if you're not into R-rated songs.
Yeah, it's don't listen to it at work. Okay,
yeah. Not safe for life.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump in because they might be missing some true crime from us.
Maybe our last episode was paranormal, wasn't it?
Well, cryptids.
It's been so long since we recorded. I forgot what we recorded last.
Okay, so this week we are talking about the Villisca axe murders
and the Hinterkaifeck murders.
Right. So, two very, very similar murders that happened in different countries.
10 years apart.
Yeah, so obviously Villisca happened in the United States.
It happened in a little town of Villisca, Iowa.
Yeah, in 1912. So on June 9th, but
I actually wanted to visit that place the last time I was visiting family in Missouri, and nobody that was in the car with me wanted to go.
And yet, the last time we were out west, they drug us to Jesse James's house. The gunfighter...
Oh, we went there again. The
gunfighter guy's not the guy who builds choppers.
Yeah. No. We went to Jesse James' houses again, but it just is sad because we were literally 2 hours away from the Villisca axe murder house, and nobody in the car with me wanted to go.
That is sad.
But you know what? I know that if you had went with me, you would have been right there and be like, yeah, buddy, let's go.
Yeah, but I would have complained constantly about the extra 2 hours.
You would have, especially considering, that's like some of the
flattest,
most boring land ever.
People, I get car sick. I hate traveling. I hate being in the car. I hate driving. I am such a homebody. It's not even funny. If I go...
Which is why she's still trying to build up effort to go back to New England.
I love New England. I want to pack up and move to New England. And I've got Ernie on board with moving to Rhode Island. I can't seem to get him to to commit to Massachusetts, which is what I really want. I can't get him to commit to Salem. So I'm gonna have to keep working on that. But at least I have him committed to Rhode Island. So there is that.
But I mean, Salem is closed. You can never find,
oh my God. Okay.
you can never book Salem.
Guys, listen, we're never going to get to record this episode because we keep going off on side topics. But I belong to a lot of groups. A lot of groups. I belong to a lot of crafting groups. I belong to a lot of true crime groups. I belong to some crafting true crime groups.
What?
Yeah, I belong to some true groups of people who are true crime fans who also craft. I belong to animal groups. I belong to specific groups for my Frenchie. Branches out of like bulldog groups, like cat groups. I belong to a lot of groups. When I'm on Facebook, I really don't care about the people I actually know. It's mostly just groups. And in one of my groups, somebody posted, and if you are listening, I'm so sorry to be making fun of you, but it was stupid, okay? Okay, so somebody in my group posted that they were going to Salem, Massachusetts next week, and for people to spam them, which is a phrase I cannot stand, but anyway, spam them with pictures.
I'd have thrown a can of spam at them.
With pictures of their Hocus Pocus shirts. So I did not spam them with pictures of my Hocus Pocus shirts, but if you have listened to this podcast, like any at all, you know that I love Salem. I love Massachusetts. I love New England, but when we got out of the car...
Hey, we are coming up on the anniversary of the last executions of accused witches at Salem.
Yeah. But...
because it is also my birthday.
I just love Salem. It's a beautiful town. It's so full of history, not just witches, but I mean, it's full of pirate history too. Salem is just an awesome little town. And if you live anywhere nearby, or even if you don't live nearby, I highly recommend going to Salem. But anyway, I digress. Somebody commented they were going to Salem and spamming them with their shirts. And somebody else commented and said, I've always wanted to go, but it's booked. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, you do know Salem, Massachusetts is a town, honey. The town does not book up. Like, it's not like she said, I'm going to Waverly Hills, and then somebody said, I'd love to go, but it's always booked. Okay, I get that. Waverly Hills books up fast. It's not like, they said, I'm going to this haunted penitentiary, but it's always booked. No, the lady is going to a town. The town does not book up.
A whole town.
A whole town.
A town that is, way more than just the witchy places.
Right. There are people who live there year round. We parked in the library parking lot. They have a public library, people.
Their cop cars have little witches on them.
They do. It's so cute. So, let's talk about the cases.
Okay. Oh, sorry. Anthony just sent me a message asking if he could bring the dogs home. And I apparently, while being distracted, said, yeah, bring the hen home. We live on a farm, people. We have about 150 hens. Okay, probably not 150. We have a lot of hens. And so he just sent me a message back. We have dozens. I'll be back with the first dozen chickens soon. Should I write tally marks?
Oh, gosh. Okay. Listen, we're going to talk about Villisca right now.
Okay, so let me flip to my Villisca notes. Because I actually, I did my research for Hinterkaifeck, or...
Do you want
I'm
to
going to struggle with that word.
That one first.
All night. I did that first.
Okay, so Villisca.
No.
On the night of
okay.
June 9th, early morning June 10th, an entire family was murdered.
And 2 house guests.
And 2 house guests, yes. Which, I'm serious, this case made me as a mother terrified to let my children stay all night with people.
Yeah, it was Josiah B. Moore, 43, his wife Sarah Moore, 39, and their children Herman, age 11, Mary Catherine, age 10, Arthur, age 7, and Paul, age 5. And then Mary Catherine's two friends, who were sisters, Anna May, 8, and Lena Gertrude Stillinger, age 12. Those were the people who were in the house that night.
They went to... I'm sorry.
I'll let you go, Ed.
Okay. That night, the mom, Sarah, had been working with her church. They were... it's the 1912s. Everybody is devoutly Christian. So they go to their Protestant church children's
I think it was like a
program
children's
that
program
Sarah
or
had
something.
been planning. Yeah, Sarah had been planning it. And pretty much the entire town went to this thing. And they leave the program about 9:30. And they walk home. So sometime they get home about 9:45, 10 o'clock. And that's really all we know. I mean, they probably
ate a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
If they wasn't fed at the church program.
Probably had a snack and then went to bed. Because, this is 1912. And people pretty much go to sleep at dusk and wake up at dawn.
As you will learn from the fact that at
7 a.m.
Yeah. At 7 a.m. the next morning, their next door neighbor noticed that, and apparently I didn't write any of this crap down. Oh yeah, there it is. At 7 a.m. their next door neighbor noticed that no one was awake in the house yet. And she thought that was weird. And she went and checked the door, and the door was locked.
Right. So she took care of the outside animals.
Yeah, she turned their chickens loose and did what she could. And then she called Josiah's brother to come and check on them. Because it was unusual for the family to sleep in past 7. They had morning chores and they needed to be up and doing things.
Right. So Ross gets there and he unlocks the door because he has a house key. Peckman, the neighbor, stood on the front porch while Moore went into the house. And he went into the parlor, which is...
We'd consider it a living room.
Yeah. And he opened the guest bedroom door, which was the first door right there on, like, when you walk through the door. And he sees Anna and Lena's bodies on the bed. He yelled to the neighbor and told her to immediately call the police. So she called Hank Horton, who was the peace officer. Hank came, searched the house, and found everybody dead.
Everybody.
Yeah. Now, okay.
They had their heads covered, though.
Right, their heads was covered. All the mirrors in the house were covered. The murder weapon was in the guest room, leaned up against the wall. Now, the axe actually belonged to Josiah. Not joking, this case is also why my axe, my machete, and any kind of tool like that is kept in the house. Because I wouldn't want somebody to go through my building, like,
Hey, Holly.
What?
For the low price of $428, 6 people can spend the night in this house.
Oh, I'd be so tempted. But yeah, I keep all of my weapons like that in the house because I wouldn't want somebody to go through my building and get them and then be able to break in using the weapon.
Hold on. There is a little Ruby dog who wants to come in here and say hi to the podcast. Okay, she doesn't really want to say hi because she's microphone shy, but she does want to hop on my lap for a second.
Now, another weird thing about this, not just that everybody's faces were covered.
Well,
but
wasn't there also a basin of water that the killer had cleaned himself up in the kitchen?
Yes, and he had made himself food. And he had left some bacon laying in the floor of the guest room. Now, people, whenever I go break into a house and I kill people, I always make sure I take the bacon with me.
Heck yeah. That's important.
Yeah. So the doctor said that people died between midnight and 5 a.m. There was also
And
two.
that the parents was the first to die.
Right, and there was also 2 cigarettes in the attic, but to get to the attic, it was in the parents' room, in the closet, so more than likely that's not where the serial killer came from, or mass murderer came from, but honestly, who knows?
But, I mean, it is also entirely likely that he waited in the attic for them.
Right.
And killed the parents first because, that's the first room he got to when he came out of the attic.
Right. Josiah received more blows than any other victim, and he actually was hit with the axe blade some, and his face was cut so bad that his eyes were missing.
Yikes.
Yeah. Okay, everybody else in the house got the blunt end of the axe. So after he left the parents' room, he went to the children's rooms, bludgeoned Herman, Catherine, Arthur, and Paul. They think in that order. And then went back to the master bedroom where the parents were, hit them some more. He knocked over a shoe that had blood, that was filling up with blood from the first round of attack. Then they believe he went downstairs, and possibly that's where he discovered that
there were two
more people in the house. Lena Stillinger, though, they think was probably awake because she had defensive wounds on her arms. And she was also laying crossways in the bed.
So it's likely that she may have woke up and made a sound. And that's what tipped him off that they were
right. There. Okay, so then her nightgown was also pushed up to her waist, and she had no panties on. But this is 1912, so maybe they didn't sleep in them because they needed to air out, because people didn't do laundry like they do now. And if you've ever tried to sleep in a nightgown, it bunches up.
I don't sleep in a nightgown for that very reason.
Yeah, me either.
Like, I don't know how, like, all these people you see on television and movies that wake up and, their nightgown is down around their ankles and they look perfect. They ain't really asleep.
Yeah.
I don't wake up looking perfect. I wake up looking scary. And I'm probably going to get a text message from Anthony saying, darn right you wake up looking scary.
Oh, so there were lots of suspects.
A lot of serial killers on that suspect list.
Yeah. I mean, and also, I guess it's important to say that there was no forced entry in the house, but it was 1912, so, in a small town. Likelihood is they probably just didn't lock the door. Always lock your door.
Always.
Yeah, I was mowing. Okay, actually, that's a lie. I was not mowing. Ernie was mowing for me over the weekend, and then he left, and I was still outside, and Emmy had locked me out. I didn't even have keys, but because I was not in the house, she felt the need to lock the door, even though I was literally in our yard.
Can you hear that rain?
I can. That's crazy.
Okay. And you can go online and you can actually see crime scene pictures from this house. This was a very nice family. It was a well-respected family.
The dad had a farm equipment business.
Yeah, but just from the... This was a rage killing. Somebody hated... particularly the dad.
Yeah.
To obliterate your face that way.
Well, and that is the that's one of the theories, is that he had a rival in business who had lost a John Deere account to the Moors, which has got to be a lot of money.
Yeah. One suspect in the case was William Mansfield, who was a serial killer, and his crimes were very eerily similar to this murder. I mean, down to he would even, wash up in a basin in the kitchen at some crime scenes. But he had an ironclad alibi. He was at work in another city, actually in another state. He was in Illinois working when these murders happened. And that's pretty much every suspect they had in the case that looked, what's that word I'm looking for, Holly?
Suspicious?
No, that had that actually looked plausible. That either had committed crimes similar in the past, or had something in it for the family. All could come up with plausible and good alibis for the time of the murders.
Right, but I mean, we all know that, well, one, it's 1912, so police work is not what it is now. And alibis were probably not checked out as thoroughly as they are now. So my guess is they absolutely interviewed the killer.
I'm sure at some point they did. Unless, because this was in close their house was in close proximity to train tracks.
Right, but if this is a rage killing and somebody had it in for the father, it wouldn't just be a...
It could have been somebody who, for some reason, didn't like men. Didn't like the heads of households.
Well, that's possible. But we also know...
Not as likely a scenario as somebody with a hatred towards the family.
I'm going with hatred towards the family. For this very, very simple fact of... I'm not even looking at how the dad was murdered compared to everybody else. I'm looking at... I mean, we know from reading John Douglas books that when you cover and you take care to alter the body after the fact, that they've got a connection. And the fact that everybody's faces were covered up leads me to believe that these people knew that guy, knew the killer. The killer knew these people and couldn't bear to look at what he had done. That's why he also covered up the mirror, so he didn't have to look himself in the eyes.
Mirrors, covered heads.
Right, and so, I mean, my assumption is probably him, honestly.
Yeah, he was in, he was brought before a grand jury, and then after he produced, his payroll records that showed that he was working in Illinois, he sued the detective that was working the case and won. He won just over $2,000, which I guess in 1920s money was a lot of money. I mean, $2,000 is a lot of money in this day and age.
Right.
I don't know. Researching this case, honestly, he seems like the most likely suspect just because of other cases. But I don't want to say too much about that because I don't want his estate to sue us.
Right.
Win another $2,000.
It'd probably be more from
Probably. Good luck collecting on that.
for sure.
Um, a reverend actually confessed to killing them, and a jury didn't believe him. But honestly, I don't really believe him.
Yeah, I mean, people confess all the time and I don't know why.
Yeah. He actually later recanted, and he was acquitted at 2 separate trials. And he was the Reverend George Kelly.
Well, I can hear the rain.
It's now being picked up on my recorder. I can see it.
Okay. Do we want to jump to the Hinterkaifeck murder?
Yes. So, roughly 10 years later, and probably a few thousand miles. Actually, probably a little bit more than that.
Well, I mean, we're going from Iowa to a town in Bavaria.
Small town in. Let's see, it's I don't even know why I was going to attempt to pronounce those words. It's about 43 miles north of Munich.
Right, only because
I can say Munich.
There's been an Olympics there.
Yes.
Okay, so on March 31st, 1922, 6 people were killed.
A whole family and their maid. And that poor maid, it was her first day on the job.
Oh, yes.
But let's not start there.
Okay.
No. Let's start in the lead up to this murder, because there was things that happened that should have tipped the family off that something was going down.
Right. Like the maid suddenly leaving because she said their house was haunted.
Yeah. Their first maid left about 6 months earlier, and she said that their house was haunted. She said that she was hearing footsteps in the attic, that she was hearing voices, and she couldn't take it anymore. So she just left.
Right. The dad told people that he saw footprints in the snow coming from the woods to the house, but they never left.
Yeah. It came right up to the back door of the house. That personally would get me all fired up to search everything.
Oh my God. Listen, this happened to me once. A few years ago when we had that really big, like 13-inch snow, which y'all, we live in Kentucky. We don't normally get 13-inch snows.
No, that's a rarity.
Like we get 3 and everything shuts down for 2 days. But anyway, we got super heavy storm, and Emmy had gone out like the front door and walked around the house to the back and walked up to the back door, and I opened the door to let the dogs out and saw these steps up to the back door. Ooh, I'm telling you, I almost pooped myself. And then she died laughing because she got me. But I'm telling you, I was freaked out.
They found a Munich newspaper in the house, and at first they thought that the postal worker had delivered it by mistake, but it turned out that their mail carrier didn't deliver any newspapers from Munich on his route at all. None.
Yeah. Big tip off.
They saw on a few occasions a man watching them from the tree line.
Right. Listen, I mean, I live right on the road, so if I looked out my window and I saw a man standing on the edge of the road looking at me,
Well, I mean, we did that one morning when we was getting ready for state, remember? And Hannah got a gun and threatened to shoot him. We was all getting ready to leave to go to state band competition. It was like 5 a.m. or something like that.
Right, my next door neighbor had died like just a few months before that. Well, actually had died maybe a month before that.
It hadn't been long.
And so her house was empty.
They hadn't even started showing the house yet.
Right. So the house was empty, and the family had like an estate sale. So all of her stuff was gone, but the house was empty. And people around here are notorious for stealing copper and turning it in for money so that they can buy drugs. And, well, basically just stealing anything that they can. But honestly, in a house like that, copper, it's because it's an older house, would have been like the only thing possibly in the house to steal. So that's my guess, because they weren't actually in our yard. They were in the neighbor's yard. But I had a fence built, but I could see over it how our yards are. I could see over our fence. When we opened the door to let the dogs out, he ran. But then, like, not too long after that, like before my new neighbors moved in, because people live in the house now, but before they moved into the house, I was outside getting something from my trunk of my car, and I'm not going to say we, I am so paranoid about everything crime related that I won't let anybody go outside to get anything without somebody else going with you. I won't go outside at night.
It's a rule.
And we live in a well-lit neighborhood. And I am right at a speed trap, so believe cops drive past my house all the time. But anyway, I had just walked outside, and Hannah was by the door, and I could hear footsteps. So, of course, we get the guns. And they take off running. But I shared on Instagram my Target from the other day. So, truthfully, this is not the house you want to be messing with, because it was dusk and I didn't have glasses on. And
she's blind.
And I still put 10 in the chest. So, yeah. We're not the house to break into.
Another thing they noticed was their house keys went missing.
Yeah. So
someone tried to break into their tool shed. And guess what they kept in their tool shed?
A Matic.
Yes.
Now you see why I don't keep weapons, things that could possibly be weapons, outside? Guys, I'm so paranoid I don't even keep ladders outside. But apparently not everybody has those same paranoid tendencies, and they leave tools that could be used as weapons in their tool shed.
What? Who would put tools in a tool shed?
Yeah.
What?
I'm serious. I have a closet that I keep stuff like that in. But anyway.
So sometime during March 31st, 1922, the maid, Maria Bumgardner's sister, dropped her off and left. And sometime after that, one by one,
they were called into the barn.
First, well, they don't really know the order, but the ones that was called to the barn were Andreas Gruber,
the dad,
63. His wife,
Kazilia
Gruber, age 72. His daughter, who was a widow, Victoria. She was age 35. And then her daughter, also named Grazilla, age 7.
Right. And in the house was found the maid and the baby.
In her bed.
And the 2-year-old in Victoria's room.
From autopsies, they know that the 7-year-old was the last to die in the barn area. Autopsy revealed that she lingered from her injuries for probably 2 to 3 hours.
And started pulling her own hair out.
Yeah, there was chunks of her hair missing, like from her scalp, like in her fists.
Yeah.
The bodies were also stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
But this isn't where the story ends.
Oh no.
We know with the Villisca case, the guy murdered him and then got out of the house.
Yeah. This killer did not.
He lingered
for days.
And not only did he linger, but he took care of their animals.
Mm-hmm.
He milked their cows. He fed their chickens.
He took care of their dog.
Yeah, he took care of their dog. He ate their bread. He ate their food. He built a fire in their fireplace. Just from casual passing by on the road, neighbors thought the house was occupied still by the family.
Right, but the daughter, Kazilla, did not go to school on Friday. Did not go to school on Saturday, and she did not go to school on Monday. And so by Monday, people started suspecting something. And also, they didn't get their mail. Like, their mail had not been picked up. So also on Monday, their mailman was like, okay, this is weird. Which, people, I got to tell you something funny.
And somebody who stopped by to purchase things from him, because it was a working farm, stopped by the house, and no one was home.
Well, somebody came to fix their tractor and didn't see anybody, but just started working on the tractor, which I thought was weird. You could determine whether or not somebody's got something going on based on whether or not they get their mail from their mailbox, because sometimes I can't tell if mine has ran or not because it runs so late that, mine could be left in there for a couple days. Of course, one time I also put my mail in and I forgot to put stamps on it, so
I check my mail every day. Like, I try to get it as soon as it runs because I don't trust my neighbors.
The coffee people who came, Hans and Edward, who came to buy stuff off of them, they noticed that the gate to the machine house was open. That's where the bodies were. They walked around the yard, but they didn't actually go into that building, so that they didn't notice it. When they didn't show up at church, people were kind of like worried, but also just kind of assumed that maybe there was something going on. When Albert Hoffner came on April the 4th to repair the engine to the food chopper, not the tractor, I'm sorry, the food chopper, he didn't see anybody or hear anybody, but he did hear the cows and the dog barking. And he said that he waited about an hour. Nobody came, so he started repairing the engine and was there for about 4.5 hours. And he said that then he noticed that the barn door was open. So, but he didn't know if the door was already open when he got there or not.
Or if it opened while he was there.
Right. So he went to the door of it, but he didn't go inside. So he didn't see any of the bodies. He went into town and told people that he went there and they didn't see anybody. And that's when people started coming to the house. The mayor first sent his sons, and his sons didn't see anything. So then, I cannot pronounce these names, Schiltenbauer went to the house along with Michael Pohl and Jacob Siegel, and that's where they discovered the bodies. The bodies were partially covered, not completely covered. I mean, they were totally able to be seen. There are some absolutely weird suspects and theories in this case. As in the deceased husband of Victoria. Because his body was never found. He was labeled a suspect that maybe he didn't die in World War I and he came back to, I don't know, kill everybody.
And kill his wife for having a child with somebody else? Because I don't think Joseph was his, was he?
No, but see, that's
a whole nother theory.
That's
a whole couple more theories.
Yeah. Okay. As in Lawrence Schiltenbauer, one of the guys that were there to discover the bodies. His first wife had died, and he started having a relationship with Victoria.
Like the body was barely cold.
Right. And so it's suspected that he is Joseph's father and killed everybody because he had recently gotten remarried and didn't want to have to pay child support. Yeah. Or there is the theory that the dad and Victoria were having an incestuous relationship. Actually, I hate to say this, but that's not even false because they both served time in jail over that.
She served a month and he served a year.
Yeah, so it was thought that the grandfather is really the dad and the grandfather. Ew.
But it also, this all goes right back to Lorenz Schlittenbauer, because one of the theories is that he killed the whole family because she was trying to get child support and he was tired of paying for
a kid that was not his.
Yeah.
Oh, and then there are all kinds of different sets of brothers. I just don't even know what's up with that, other than people say they did it but may or may not have done it.
Yeah. Or, it might be one of those things where lots of people point fingers trying to get other people in trouble.
Right.
They try to pin it on the former maid and her brothers.
Right. But it all comes down to somebody felt comfortable enough there to stay after the fact.
And it was somebody who... See, this is one of my theories. This is one of my thoughts, though, is the family had said that they were seeing somebody with a mustache watching them from the tree line.
Right.
If it had been almost any of these suspects,
they would have known who it was.
Yes. It was nobody they knew.
So
who is this mysterious guy who's watching them from the... I know at one time, one of the suspects was their neighbor. Well, I mean, it makes no sense why their neighbor would have been... okay. Their neighbor could have been watching them, but they would recognize their neighbor.
Right.
Their neighbor could have done everything leading up to it, but why would their neighbor have been living in their house for several days post-murder? Wouldn't the neighbor's family have noticed, and other people in the community noticed, hey, where's, such and such? I can't remember the neighbor's name off the top of my head.
I would just go home.
Yes. I'd have cleaned up and went home.
I know.
So that makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. Honestly, it doesn't make sense that it's anybody that they would have recognized. So, you know what? It could have been... I mean, it's far-fetched. It is super far-fetched, but, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say it could have been Victoria's husband. I mean, his body wasn't found, What's to say that he
could have changed a little bit after the war. People grow a mustache, lose some weight.
Right. I mean, he's been gone for 10 years.
Yeah.
He would be the one to have the most.
Out of all of these theories, that one, when on the surface looks the most far-fetched, actually is the most plausible.
Right. The only thing, though, that makes that one not plausible to me was he killed his daughter.
Was it really his daughter, though?
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, I guess if there was already this incest going on, that he probably could have thought that she wasn't his also.
I mean, this is 1922. We don't have, DNA testing.
Right. Where is Mari when you need him?
So.
Yeah, I think that one honestly is plausible.
Yeah. So the bodies were sent for autopsies, and part of the autopsies involved cutting their heads off.
Ew.
And in the process, they lost all of the heads. Something with the chaos of World War II happening, and then bombings of the buildings. All of the heads were lost, and the bodies are buried without heads.
Okay, when I die, make sure I have a head.
Oh, you're being cremated, so.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so super crazy.
One thing I thought was interesting, the farm was not named Hinterkaifeck. I've always heard of this, and I always thought, that was the name of the farm, or, whatever. No. Kaifeck was the closest town, and Hinter means behind.
Yeah.
So it was behind the town. That's kind of like the lamest name ever.
Truth.
But, I mean, it works for this story.
Right. Except we can't pronounce it.
Truth. But you know what? There's a lot of things we can't pronounce.
That's true. So, anyway, crimes that happen this early in history, they're just so hard to solve.
Yeah, and partly because detective work was really in its kind of infancy. Yeah. They did their best with what they had.
Right.
The whole 1920s was all about the axe murders.
It was. Leave your axes in your house.
I don't know where our axe is. I think, it's on the porch.
Not a good place for it.
I'm probably going to go about move it right now because, we just did this story.
I know. Well, it's pouring the rain here now.
It's stopped now, here.
I have a stupid criminal that I've been dying, no pun intended, to talk about since we took a break. It's been that long. I've really wanted to tell this story. Now, people, we often talk about, I don't know, rednecks who do stupid stuff.
Because, we live in redneck country.
Oh, we do. And we make fun of the states around us. Kentucky has probably more stupid criminals than probably any other state other than maybe Florida. Sorry, Florida. But I don't know why we keep getting your news, and it's always crazy. But, we know that, if news comes out of Ohio, it's probably going to be some girls missing or something, because that seems to happen all the time in Ohio. I'm telling you, Ohio has a serial killer or two that target women, and they've not been caught yet. There's just no other explanation for that many women to keep going missing.
Speaking of serial killers, listeners, have you been keeping up with the border agent serial killer from Laredo, Texas?
Yeah, that thing. But we actually went across the border there in Laredo.
I was telling a friend that I would not be surprised if his body count ended up being much higher, just because I know that people disappear in Nuevo Laredo, which is the town directly across the border from Laredo, Texas. They disappear there all the time. Yeah. So, I mean, we might talk about him in a future episode when more details come out. But if you've not heard about this case, look it up. 10-year law enforcement officer serial killer.
That's like Golden State Killer all over again. But anyway, with our stupid criminals, it's not often that we get people who are on TV until now. So the anchor woman and the weather woman from WSAZ, just across the border, guys, from Kentucky in Huntington, West Virginia, got into a bar fight to end all bar fights.
And they both ended up losing their job over it.
The anchor woman suffered a fractured skull and a broken eardrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, from what I understand, she was drunk and wearing high heels. And, ladies, those two do not mix well with bar fights.
No.
You gotta wear shoes that you can hold your, that you can get your footing in.
Sensible fighting shoes and take your earrings off.
Or, just kick your shoes off. So you can get good traction. Stilettos do not make good fighting shoes. I mean, unless you take them off and, hit the person with them.
While at the bar, Erica Bevins, who was the anchor woman, accused the meteorologist Chelsea Ambrose, and I'm sure that I'm not saying that right because that's not the Ambrose, because that's not local news for me. I get Lexington news, so accused her of flirting with her husband Donald.
He's not very attractive, but I mean, to each their own.
So Ambrose began to hit on the Donald, and Donald told Chelsea that he wasn't interested. And then he went back and stood next to his wife and told Erica. Well, Ambrose became angry and started shoving Bevins. And then they fell over the bar area, which resulted in Bevins' injuries. Bevins was taken to the hospital. Ambrose was charged with a misdemeanor battery. And they both lost their job.
They didn't get fired right away. Probably about a week or two. I'm guessing. Station had meetings with both of them. Blah blah blah. But yeah, they both ended up losing their job. And I miss the dynamic there because, I mean, not so much with Erica Bevins, because I mean she was a good news anchor, but not like anything special. But Tim Ear, who is their lead news anchor, loved to kind of go off script with Chelsea Ambrose because she was not very quick on her feet when it came to going off script. And I mean, she'd get like this deer in the headlights look, or she wouldn't know how to respond. And it was really funny. Tim Ear's been their news guy for a billion years. So, what are they going to do? Fire him for having fun with the new girl? No. But now, I guess they're hiring. So, if you are a news anchor or a meteorologist and you want to move to the wonderful Huntington, West Virginia.
If you move to Huntington, West Virginia, you will be close enough to hang out with me. I won't watch you because you're not my local news, but we can hang out.
I will watch you, and we can hang out.
Yeah, I mean, Huntington has them all. It's more than I can say for Moorhead.
I mean, you might get shot if you go to the Huntington Mall, but I mean, it's okay. It's all good.
I mean, that's pretty much any mall these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have been wanting to tell you guys. I mean, you probably have already heard it. It's probably old news to you because it was on Inside Edition.
I think that I actually posted a little bit about it on our Instagram. So if you follow us on Insta, you've seen it, a little bit of it.
So, if you love me and I would like to, I don't know, wear cool shirts, you can visit my shop, Cat Hair Glitter, on Etsy. And
she's posted a lot of awesome ones lately.
I have. Heather keeps sending me messages saying, I want this, I want this, I want this, but I can't keep track of what shirts she wants. I'm going to start telling her to go to the shop and order them for, like, that's the only way I'm going to be able to keep track of it.
Okay, well, I think I want that one that I shared on Facebook today.
The You Can't Sit With
But I'm not 100% sure. So, I will make my Christmas list. Because pretty much what I want for Christmas is your shop.
I have so many Halloween shirts up. The Salem Broom Company. I am making several of those.
Has that been a bestseller? Because it looks like it'd be a bestseller.
It is a bestseller. Salem Broom Company, The Frequent Flyer. I'm still doing lots of football shirts. Oh, people, I am not going to say a name, but I am so excited.
I'm so proud of you.
I made a shirt and it went to an NFL player's wife.
Apparently, she posted this on her personal Facebook page, which you all are not like privy to, but apparently this guy's like a pretty big deal in the NFL.
He is a pretty big deal. I was so excited. Okay, I get so many orders that honestly I don't even look at names or locations. And I think that drives Ernie crazy because he'll be like, oh, who ordered it? I don't know. Like, I don't know until I start packaging up the envelope. And even then, I just, just look at it long enough to write it down and then send it on its way. Everybody gets the same treatment. Unless
you ask for something special. If you ask, like, they did an order this week where the person asked for, it was like a birthday gift. So Abby went out of her way to make, like, a special card and handwritten note and...
Right. So, like, if you do something like that, then, of course, I pay a little more attention. But, literally, if you just order something, and in the case of this shirt that I sent to the NFL player, it needed to be customized with his number. And so she messaged me, and I do a fair amount of these shirts, and I just assume that it's shirts for moms or girlfriends. I just... and I just do the number and the color that they ask for, and I send it on its way. But it's an unusual last name, at least for this area, and it caught my attention. And she wrote me a note that said, "Can you put my husband's number on it?" And I died, people. I was so excited, so excited. Yeah, I was excited. Can I say enough that I was super excited?
But yeah. So if you've not ordered a shirt for my sister, you need to, because she makes really cute things.
And maybe other people wouldn't be super excited about that. Maybe other people are just like, whatever. But if you've listened to enough episodes, especially the Aaron Hernandez episode, I love football. I have loved football since I was teeny tiny. I would go to games to watch my cousins play, and I just love it. Like, nearly everybody I dated in high school played football, and I was just, football is just my thing. And so, like, we have a fantasy football league. I lost this week, and I'm so sad about that, but it's beside the point. Yeah, I mean it's a really big deal to me because if I was a guy, that's the job I'd want. I mean, I'm small. I'd have to be like a kicker or something, or could possibly be a quarterback, but I'm probably still too small for that. Definitely couldn't actually do his position.
Yeah. I don't even know what he does. I don't watch football.
He's offensive lineman. No, you don't get to know what
Because
team.
you're going to have to edit all of that out.
I'd have to edit all that out. I mean, they didn't ask me to edit any of that out. They didn't say, hey, you can't tell anybody. But I'm just like, if you shop with me, you get privacy.
We digress. If you have not checked out my YouTube channel, you need to. I'm doing pretty awesome things on my YouTube channel. We are up to 47 subscribers. Yes.
What?
So I know that's a long way from our 1,000 subscriber goal. And when we hit 1,000 subscribers, we are doing a awesome giveaway featuring some awesome stuff from Holly's shop and some awesome stuff from the Haunted Family Podcast shop that we are building. And yeah, you will want to be part of that. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you need to do that like right now. Yeah.
Yes, you do. If you would like to start a podcast of your own, use our affiliate code Haunted Family PB on Podbean. And also, if you order from my shop, use the code Haunted and you get 10% off.
Good.
Yes, off of anything in the shop. It doesn't have to be anything true crime related or a replica shirt that your favorite football player may or may not be wearing. He won't be wearing it, but
and it doesn't even have to be a cryptid shirt, even though she has got a ton of Bigfoot shirts.
I do. Yep. Before long, I'll have to. I'm thinking about true crime related ornaments too, but I have not fully committed to that yet. So anyway, that's just what we've got going on. I think that's it. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.